Hi, my name's Kira. This is my professional portfolio for 2018 capstone course. First, we're going to take a look at my resume, then take a look at certificate of completions for both National Institute of Health course as well as Institute of Healthcare Improvement courses. Then we're going to take a look at my sample work, which is my quality improvement project, and then my BSN reflective summary as well as my 5-year professional developmental plan. All right, so first we're going to look at my resume. This resume is geared towards a position with Lakeland Regional Health's trauma team. I recently obtained a position in the main ER about 6 weeks ago, so that was my first step to this much larger goal. I included on here the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree that we will hopefully all be obtaining in August. I also included on the very bottom 2 certifications that I don't currently hold, but that are required to apply for the position on the trauma team, which is Certified Emergency Nurse, CEN, and also the TNCC, the Trauma Nursing Core course. So those are both on there, and this is likely very similar to what I will use when I do apply for my position. Next, we're going to take a look at my certificate of completion for the NIH or National Institute of Health Protecting Human Resource Participants course. I previously took this course and the next courses that I'll show the certificate of completions for back in a previous course for the bachelor's program. But all of these courses, these are the next ones: the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, QI 101 through QI 105. All of these courses were very helpful with my quality improvement project. I previously took them and truly didn't, you just kind of go through it and learn it to get it done. And I took them a second time and really learned a lot about the do's and don'ts with quality improvement and how to read this stuff and how to, process this and put it all together. So I thought these were really helpful. Next, we're going to take a look at my sample work. I am very proud of my quality improvement project. When I initially got the assignment, it happened to be a coincidence that the hospital that I currently hold a PRN position with, Lake Wales, I was full-time at this time, they were doing a process improvement project in the emergency room. It was a process improvement project from beginning to end, from the patient registering to the patient being discharged or being admitted to the floor. So I took a very small part of this that was very important to me, and I chose to work on that. I actually got to serve as a team member on the process improvement board for this. I spent many, many hours at the hospital and meetings and several shifts trying to get this implemented and educating my fellow coworkers and stuff like that. So I take a lot of pride in this project. It's going very, very well currently. I chose to do the project to improve the process from when the doctor tells the patient, I'm going to admit you, to the time that the patient leaves the ER and goes upstairs. We had a lot of AMAs, people leaving against medical advice because they were waiting for so long to get to the floor, even when we had available beds and stuff like that, when we weren't even at capacity. We had a lot of people that were waiting and nobody was telling them what was going on. They were hungry. Their family was uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable. So we had a lot of people leaving AMA. So one of the first things that we implemented was a bed ahead assignment. This just says, when the charge nurse comes in at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., they make a list on the board and give a list to the house supervisor as well as the emergency department of whenever that first patient gets admission orders, they're going to go to this specific room and this specific nurse will take that patient. That, of course, can change with ICU transfers and stuff like that. But we're not, the previous process was ER HUC would let the house supervisor know, okay, we have an admission and it needs to go to this unit. Then the house supervisor would talk to that HUC. The HUC would have then to track down the charge nurse, get a bed assignment, let the house supervisor know. House supervisor then had to turn around and let ER know. So it was just this huge mess that was taking entirely way too long. So we implemented this bed ahead program, and each day we know that the first patient's going to go to this room, the second patient's going to go to this, this room on each unit. So if we have a progressive care unit patient or an ICU patient, we know that patient's going to go to this certain room. The only thing that I do foresee happening is when wintertime comes and we're at capacity at 7 a.m., of course the charge nurse isn't going to know who's going to be discharged first, who's going to be discharged, period, what nurse is going to be able to take that patient. So that process is definitely going to have to be revised. But for now, it's really working well. Second, we implemented a no delay nurse report. So prior to this improvement project, once we got the bed assignment, the ER nurse would have to call upstairs anywhere from 2, 5, 6 times to try and get a hold of a nurse to give a report, and it would have to be a full report. So we initially implemented a no delay nurse report that once we got the bed, that floor nurse had 15 minutes to look over the chart and call down to ER with any questions about the patient. This improvement plan did not work whatsoever. A lot of the nurses were saying that they couldn't access the chart. They couldn't see, what all we had given, the patient's history, stuff like that. We have 2 totally different systems that we work from, so they weren't able to see. So we then further revised, and currently we have a plan that the ER nurse or HUC faxes up an SBAR report to that specific unit, which has the patient's history, what they're there for, what we've given, their vital signs, any abnormal laboratory or radiology result, anything like that. And that floor nurse still has 15 minutes to call down after we receive the bed to call down with any questions. So that is working great. Each patient within the 15 minutes of receiving the bed, 100% of patients are transported up to the units. And it is working very well. The last thing that we implemented, which was my baby for this whole thing, was effective communication. Nobody on the board had even thought about it, on the board that was doing this process improvement plan. And a lot of, ER nurses and stuff like that hadn't thought of it either. But one of the biggest complaints with these AMA patients that we were having is they didn't know what was going on. They were sitting in the room, hungry, uncomfortable, and not knowing, okay, my room's being cleaned now, or they're discharging the patient that's in my room that I'm assigned to, and then it has to be cleaned. So I only have, like an hour left here. Nobody was telling them this stuff. And nobody, for the patients that were there for chest pain or pneumonia or anything like that had diets and that were able to eat, none of these patients were being fed. None of their family was being fed or even offered a beverage or anything. So we implemented an effective communication education, series that we did. We did very small classes several times throughout the 2-week period when we were implementing all of this stuff. And each nurse from the ER, as well as upstairs radiology, every department in the hospital was educated on effective communication with our patients. So now we are keeping everybody up to date. We are taking the extra time to let them know what we're waiting on, what we're going to do, and feeding them and giving them drink and making them as comfortable as possible as much as we possibly can. And this project entirely is going really well. We've cut down on AMAs by a lot. So I'm really proud of the improvement that the ER has made, and I'm very excited that I was able to serve and give ideas and stuff like that. So this is a paragraph from my reflective summary that we turned in. This is just talking about, my struggles through the bachelor's program. I really struggled in the beginning with evidence-based practice and nursing science and stuff like that, and how to implement that into my everyday practice. Initially, I was like, I don't have the time to research what's evidence-based practice and what's best practice, I didn't think that I had the time. And now it is something that I think about continuously, and I want the best for my patients. And I've figured out how to implement that into my everyday practice. So that's part of that. This next paragraph is just a summary. The bachelor's program has really helped me transition into a professional nurse instead of, a robot that just does skills. So I've learned a lot about the business aspect of nursing and the improvement process, which I cannot wait to find another process improvement project that I can participate in. I've also personally learned that learning and change is never going to stop. You have to become used to change and flexible, and learning you're never going to know everything. So personally, this program has helped me, in my personal and professional life. This last slide is my 5-year professional developmental plan. I broke it down into between year 1 and 2, year 3 and 4, and year 5. I have already accomplished the first step here, which is obtaining an RN position with Lakeland Regional ER. I am also working on completing required education to obtain a position with critical care rooms. These are 1 to 2 beds in each pod that take critical or unstable patients. So those are kind of between trauma patients and just regular patients that we see every day in all of the regular rooms. I also would like to obtain my CEN and TNCC, which I'm set for in September, and I want to start shadowing the trauma team to, figure out what I need to do to become one of them. So those are my goals for these first 2 years. The next 2 years, I want to obtain a position on the trauma team and apply for the MSN program. Currently, I'm not too sure exactly what I want to do. I know I want to continue my education and apply and, obtain a master's degree. I just don't know exactly what I want to do with it. So for now, I'm going to push that off, get some more experience at bedside. That's where I want to be right now. So by year 3 to 4, I want to apply for the program, and by year 5, I want to begin the program and obtain a position possibly as a pod supervisor, and just kind of continue to move up the ladder. So that is my 5-year professional developmental plan. It has been such a pleasure being classmates with everyone, and good luck to everybody in the future. Thank you.